Welcome back to Barry Charles Podcast, Episode 7. Well, today, it's all by myself, and we are going to learn about the NRL 2022 season. My predictions from 16 up to 1. And we'll start off with who I believe will get the wooden spoon in 2022 in the Australian National Rugby League Championship. And well, I think our first sacking of the year will come to this coach, Michael Mcguire. Yes, indeed, the West Tigers. Even though they have brought a few players, but this season I think is going to be a real struggle for them, and Michael Mcguire might unfortunately not get to reap the benefits of buying some very good players for next season, as his team struggles in 2022. Well, let's have a look at the squad, and let's see what my predictions for the team would be going into 2022. At fullback, obviously the star of the show, one of the stars of the team, Dane Laurie. Can he continue his form from last year? Let's hope so, because he was flying last year for the Tigers. David Nofaluma, sad to say he's going to be a Tiger for life, I'd say, but unfortunately, he just is in the wrong club. I'm sure if he was at the Roosters or something, he would have already been in State of Origin by now. Very classy player, but just finds it tough in the struggling squad. On the other wing, Ken Mamalo. Well, we know he can score tries, but can he stop them? And that is the biggest worry for the Tigers, is stopping tries. In the centres, you got Oliver Gildart and Tommy Talau when he comes back from injury. That could be a good, nice centre pairing, but not up with the top teams. In the halves, well, one player they brought back from the old dart, Jackson Hastings. Is he going to be the number 6? He will be in the short term, but will he be there long term? That is the question. And obviously Luke Brooks. I would be stunned if he lasts the season, and I'm sure he will be moving on to another team after this season. In the forward pack, we've got Stefano, Jacob Little. Well, unfortunately, sadly for the Tigers, this is all you got. But next season looks well with Api Carousel coming. But this year, Jacob Little is your hooker. One player that obviously needs to improve on last year is the prop James Tamau. I think he was burdened by the team struggles and he just lost the plot himself. He would hope to improve, but it could be another long year for him as captain. Then you got Luke Garner, very consistent player, with Luciano Leilua in his last season at the Tigers, but I'm a little bit worried he might go backwards like Jerry Leilua did. And then my 13 when he comes back, whether he'll play there or he more likely will play at 5'8", Adam Dewey. I think you just need him on the field. And I think he could play 80 minutes there at lock, and then you can move him around where needed, into centres, into 5'8". But I just like him at lock because he can just go anywhere he wants, and I think that could be a good place to put Adam Dewey. But we'll watch this space. Obviously, probably my best signing for the Tigers is Tyrone Peachey. His calibre is up to New South Wales standards on the bench, but he's been a little bit below par when he was at the Titans. But if he can find his best, he certainly can make the Tigers go up the ladder a little bit, but definitely not the top 8. Then Alex Twal, we know he's consistent. Sean Bloor and Joe Offling and Gowie. But really, when you look at some of the other benches coming up, it's just not up to standard. And to be fair, if the Tigers get a few injuries, they have not got many players to bring up the ladder. Let's look at this round 1 fixture against the Storm. Then they got the Knights, Warriors, Titans, and the Sharkies. Wow. This could be a long season. They could be 5-0 already, and Michael Mcguire is heading for the chopping block. They got a couple of possible winning games against the Knights and the Warriors, but I would not be surprised if they lose all 5. And Michael Mcguire last half the season of that. Then coming to the end of the season, if there's still a hope, It's not the worst run home, to be fair. But obviously they got a chance against the Knights, but the Sharks and Roosters should be too good for them. And then you got Dragons and Raiders to finish, depending on what their season is like. This could be a golden opportunity for them to deliver. What should we be doing, West Tigers fans? I suggest just stay at home and write the season off. They might do better than the Wooden Spoon, but to be fair, they won't be doing much better than that. They have been doing quite well until last year, but I think they might implode this year. Which leads us on to my 15th ranked team here, which is the 2005 finalists, the Cowboys. They have been a long way from being a finals team for a while, and I think it will continue in 2022. They have some good players, but just not a team collective at the moment. And Todd Payten was supposed to be their saviour, but is so far undelivered. Can he change that? We'll find out. Let's go first here with the fullback here, Hamiso Fado. He's definitely a good player. He's definitely one of the good players here for the Cowboys. In the wing here, you got Kyle Felt, and I believe we're best position here for Valentine Holmes is on the wing. I expect him to be on the wing by the end of the season, if not before. He's playing in the centres, but to me, I just don't think he's good enough there, and I think he is a good finisher, as he was an Origin level, and I think that's where he needs to go. Find his speed again, and be a try-scoring machine for the Cowboys. Which leaves us with centres. Well, I have to put Ben Hampton in there. He's very consistent no matter where he plays. With the lack of depth there at centre, that's his chance to play there. That's obviously why Valentine Holmes is playing centre, but I just feel that Ben Hampton would be better suited there, and he's a pretty good defender. With Peter Hiku from the Warriors, what will he do? Is he getting to the end of his career? He might be on the outer in terms of his... But I don't know, he's been playing pretty good footy. So let's hope he continues that footy from the Warriors, because he certainly would be a good pickup for them. And he can also go into the halves if needed. Well, speaking of the halves, we'll see how this team goes early. But Scott Drinkwater, bit of in and out. He can play very good and then he struggles, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And you got Chad Townsend. Wow. Is he over the hill? Very injury prone last season. Will that continue? They put big money on Chad Townsend. He's very good director, yes. But is he up to the NRLTelstra standard? I don't think so. And that's probably who the Cowboys need. So that's why I think they could be struggling this season in the halves. Especially if he goes down. They might be a long season for the Cowboys. If you look at the props, you got Jermaine Tanoa Brown. I know some people might not even have him in the team, but he's very consistent. And I think that's what the Cowboys need. They need some more consistent players instead of rocks and diamonds. This is where I think they could make a change here at hooker. Reece Robertson, he's an okay player, but they just need something out of there, and that's where I'm going for Tom Dearden. Got to take a risk on this guy somewhere. I think he might be better suited at hooker. Just let him pass the ball, run from dummy half. I think this could be a astute placing here for Todd Payten. But we'll see how that goes. But Tom Dearden for me would be my hooker. Then obviously Jordan McLean's been very disappointing, but it's his turn to turn that around in 2022. He was on the brink of Origin selection and just hasn't been close since. Hopefully he will make a return to his best footy for the Cowboys' sake. Now in the second row here, I've got a couple of players that have probably been more playing proper lock lately. But Cohen Hess, well, he's been very disappointing to be fair. The last couple of years, can Todd Payten get the best out of him? We'll find out. Otherwise, he probably needs to move on to somewhere else to maybe get back to his best. And another second row I'll put here is Jason Tamalolo. I think he's wasted their lock. He's pretty much running up as a prop, making 200 metres a game. Or a bit less with Todd Payten last season, but to be fair, he's not a battering ram. He needs to go through the gaps, boom, straight through the gap, and score 15, 20 tries a season. That's where I see him really making... He is one player. If they played him as second row, the Cowboys would just jump up the ladder for mine. But they keep playing him just up the middle. They're just wasting his talents. Which leads me to a young guy they could put at 13 and really make a sensation there. Jeremiah Then all the talk about him, he is going to be an absolute superstar. Why not put him in now? Because they really are struggling and they need some spark in attack. And this could be the guy that could bring it for them. As we look at the bench, well, it's a little bit to be decided, to be fair. Jake Granville, getting to the end of his career, solid player, but he's just really just holding on to his spot, to be fair. Ruben Cotter, very solid player. He's been solid for a few years. He's definitely going to be around for a while. And now we've got a couple of young guns for my team, if I was going to. Ben Condon and Tommy Gilbert. These two, young guns on the rise. Could easily, one of them could be starting as well, but it's going to be interesting to see how they use the young guns this season, because they've got a few young ones on the rise here, the Cowboys. They might be not far away if they can get a couple more good players in the next couple of seasons. They can be back in their top 8. But they're looking really flat after the 17, to be fair. You only got a player like Lachlan Burr, who's got some NRL experience, a solid player. But outside that, it's looking pretty grim. Obviously, Reece Robson will probably be in the team anyway, but for me, I would have Tommy Dillon there at hooker for me. So let's have a look at what their road ahead is to start the season here for the Cowboys. They've got their chance early on anyway. Here they got the Bulldogs, the Raiders, the Broncos, then the Roosters and the Warriors. So it's a pretty good draw, to be fair, if they can deliver. But to me, I just don't know if they got the firepower. They've got a chance to win a couple of these games early on. They'll need to, though, because if they don't win early on, it's going to be a long season ahead, because the end of the season draw doesn't look too good at all. When you're playing, yet again, they play the Bulldogs again, which will be, I think, a lot better team by that time of the season. The Roosters, the Warriors, depending if they're in contention or not. Rabbitohs and Panthers to finish. It's not where you want to be, and if they don't start good, it's going to be a long road for the Cowboys in 2022. Will Todd Payton survive the season? That'll be an interesting one. I'd say he's a bit more safer than Michael Mcguire, that's for sure. Where do the Cowboys need to improve? Oh, it's all over the park, isn't it? Attack, defence, it's the whole lot. They really need something. Valentine Holmes, he obviously needs to deliver as a leader of the squad, so Jason Tamalolo, and plenty more, but I just think they're a few players away from being a top 8 side for mine. So let's go on to the 14th ranked team on my list. And well, this is a team that starts on fire the last couple of seasons. Will they continue the season? I doubt it's going to happen this season. There, and it's the St. George Dragons. What can they do, the Dragons? They haven't got a bad team on paper, but let's go through these selections here. They've got a few young guns that maybe pushing to play starting footy this year, like Tyrell Sloan. Will he be the fullback? Be interesting if they go with a real young gun straight off the bat. Will they'll let him come in later in the season? It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Because obviously the winger here, Cody Ramsey, could easily be a fullback as well. But he had mixed success when he was playing there last season, so it'd be interesting to see what the plan is there for Anthony Griffin in the second season at the helm. Also, you got Moses Sully, Zach Lomax, and Ravala. Wow, he's a very good player. Very nice. It looks like a potentially good backline here, the Dragons. But I don't know about here where you go here in the halves here. I'll put Jack Bird in there. I'll put Jack Bird at 6. I think they just need something. And Ben Hunt will steady the ship. But again, he's not up with the Adam Reynolds style of play. He's a solid player, but he's just hasn't gone to their next level ever since the grand final loss. Just unfortunate for Ben Hunt. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But I still think he should be a number 9. But they just don't really have the number 7, so he has to play there. But for me, he should be playing hooker for the rest of his career. But he might not get that chance because he keeps wanting to play halfback. This is a good starting pack. I tell you what. People could say Dad's Army as well. That's the only question you got with this team. But experience can take you a long way. But we'll see. We got Josh Mcguire, who is going to be out suspended, and that is the big question for Dragons fans. Can they get him on the field enough? He wasn't that great last year, so hopefully he'll improve, because he is a good player at his best. Andrew McLeod, very solid player. Not going to be majorly threatening out of dummy half. That's the only problem for the Dragons I'm worried about there. So maybe Jack Byrne might go in there a bit. We'll see what happens there. Aaron Woods, he joins Dad's army. A solid player, but again, will he bring much different to the Dragons of past? Jaden Sewer, he's a nice buy. Just hope he doesn't go backwards. Tarek Sim and Jack DeBellin, well, they're very solid players. Mossy Mbai, very good buy. Moses Mbai, very good buy for the Dragons. But again, I'm just not sure where he'll play at 14, you know what I mean? He's a Mr. Fixer sort of guy, but I'm more likely to see him starting games in different positions for injuries, and then I think that's where he might end up. He's definitely a solid 14. But whether he can play hooker, that might be his opportunity, because I don't know how long Andrew McCullough will stay at number 9, depending how the season goes for the Dragons. He could be on the way out after a while. I know Anthony Griffin likes him, but at some point, if they're not getting any spark out of him, they've got to make a change there. George Burgess, interesting. He's injury prone. Can he get back to his best? Because if he's at his best, whoa, he'll be one of the buys of the season here. Whether he can, we'll find out. Francis Morlow's been very consistent. I was expecting to be there. And Josh Kerr, another one, been very consistent. And deserves a shot on the bench for mine. What have the Dragons got outside of that? They obviously got Daniel Alvaro. He's a very solid player. The Feagai brothers, I just don't know if where they're at. If they don't get game time, it could be a long time for them. Blake Lowry, they've got some players to bring in. No stars, but they got a little bit of depth there, but nothing to really write home about. And to me, the biggest problem is the X Factor. Where is the X Factor for the Dragons? They really need to find it, and they need to find it quickly. Otherwise, their season will drop again like last season. I know there's no barbecues, but this squad's just a little bit out of depth, and they need a couple more good players. But if the young guns can deliver, they might be a surprise packet for the top 8. I don't see it, but you never know. They do have a good, strong forward pack. They could help them win a lot of games. So it'll be interesting to see how the Dragon season goes. Let's have a look at who they got up early in the season. Well, this is why I'm worried. They got the Warriors, Panthers, Sharks, Eels, and Rabbits. Woohoo! If they don't beat the Warriors, I'm telling you now, it's going to be a long road ahead for the Dragons. They're normally good starters though, so you give them a chance against them. But the Panthers, Sharks, Eels, that's a long stretch. Can they do it? Well, they've done the last couple of seasons, started the gate well. I'm not convinced this season's going to be the same though. We will find out. And if they get into the end of the season, they don't have a bad run home, to be frank. So they might do a bit better than what I'm expecting. They got the Sharks, the Raiders, the Titans, and then Tigers and Broncos to finish. It could be a good finish for the Dragons, but depending on where they're on the ladder, it could be a good finish for the other two teams as well, to be fair. So it'll be interesting to see how this season goes for the Dragons. But to me, they're just a couple of players short of being definitely a premiership contender. I just can't see it, even if they made the 8. They won't be going far into the finals. Well, let's go to the rank 13 here. And a lot of people expect this team maybe to even be in the top 8, but I just don't see it. They will improve, but to me, just not enough for me to say anything here. Trent Barrett's Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. They have definitely been the best buyers out there this season. Well, one of the best anyway. But they're just a little bit short of being I'd say a definite top 8 team. But they've certainly got the right ingredients to go close. But for me, they're just a little bit off the pace. And let's have a look at their squad here. Fullback, Matt Duffy. Short-term contract, interesting. That one, I don't know what that means. They're only doing one-term contract. Sounds silly to me. Very good in attack, but obviously defense has been a query for Matt Duffy, and it will continue this season. And it's probably not necessarily what the Bulldogs need. So it's going to be an interesting year for them. Then you got, obviously, probably the buy of the season, Josh Adokar. What can you do? He is definitely New South Wales player. Please don't go backwards here, Josh Addo. You need to deliver here for the Bulldogs. He's not going to have the same class like Cameron Munster and Jerome Humes to give him the ball. You'd have to hope Matt Burton can get up there, but I don't expect him to get it this year, so that's the problem we got here for Josh Adokar. He might go a little bit backwards here at the Bulldogs early on, and if they don't improve quickly, it could be a long couple of seasons for Josh Adokar. It's going to be tough here in the centres who to go with. I've gone for Brent Naden and Corey Allen, who was very disappointing. Very disappointing. But Trent Barrett was all over the show last year with some of his selections. But in the best squad, I think Corey Allen should be there. He's got a chance to redeem himself. He'll need to, otherwise he might be out the window very quickly. Jaden, I think he'll be the other winger. He was really playing well when he came back into the squad. The halves, well, this is where the Bulldogs really need Matt Burton to deliver. But he struggled. He struggled when he's played in the halves, and he's not in the Panthers squad. He's in the Bulldog squad, it is, and it's strong. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes this season. I think he may struggle a little bit, but I think he'll come right. But there could be a query, should he be playing centre? Well, interesting to see, but I can't see him playing centre for the Bulldogs. Not this season anyway. If they could sign someone, maybe they could put him back in centre. Well, whether you go in the halves, you could go with a whole lot of people here. Again, this is an interesting selection for the Bulldogs. I'll probably go with Jack Averillo. That's who I'd go for, but no confidence at all that he should be there. You could pick 3 or 4 players here for this position. That's why I don't like the Bulldogs this season. They just don't have a number 7 that's going to go, yes, I'll steady the ship, boys. Let's go. We look at the props. Well, look at Paul Vaughan. Hopefully he doesn't do the same here at the Bulldogs as he did at the Dragons. He's a very good player, but he'll have to get his head straight. And there's obviously Luke Thompson will be the other prop. They could be a good starting combination there. Number 9, again, I'm just struggling for players here, so I'm going to put a curveball in there. And again, like Tom Denon here, Kyle Flanagan. Good pass of the ball. Maybe he can find a home here at number 9. They've got to give him a go. Definitely, this is his last chance saloon, I think, in the NRL. If he does not do any good this season, I expect him to be going to the Super League. So it will be interesting to see how Kyle Flanagan goes here. Nice. This is a nice forward pack. They've got the Bulldogs. Very good forward pack. Obviously, Jack Henryton, got to stay on the field, buddy. Very star-studded player and can be the player they need, the Bulldogs. The old school Bulldog player, no doubt about it. Everyone at the Bulldogs will love this player, but he's just got to stay on the field. Another one who could be an old school Bulldogs player is Tafita Pangai Jr. Can he keep it up all season? That has been always the problem with Pangai Jr. is keeping it up all season. And Josh Jackson, you know what you're going to get every week. Very consistent. Up there with the old school Michael Lux, the Kevin Campions. There's so many good players, Brady Clyde's, very consistent players, Steve Menzies. This is definitely the players you need in the squad. But unfortunately, he's been carrying the load for a long time, and he's finally got a lot stronger team this season. So I hope they do a lot better for him. Obviously, Jerry Marshall King will have to be in there somewhere because they just haven't got that much depth that he's going to be there. He'll probably be the starting hooker anyway, but I see him being more benefit off the bench from what the squad they got. After that, they're struggling a little bit here. He got Bailey Beyonde Odo. I'll put him in there with Raymond Martin. Sorry, for Tyler Mariner. He's a very solid player. I like him. I can see him starting. So he's definitely in there. And after that, really struggling here for a whole team, even just to get a bench. I've gone for obviously Ava. He's certainly a good player. He'll be in there and amongst that. And they do have a few other players, and they've got a little bit more depth this season, but nothing out of this world. Braden Burns can easily be in there. Aaron Shoop, Joe Simpson's pretty good. Corey Waddell. So they've got the potential to get a bit higher than what I've put them, but it'd be a stretch to say they'll be a top 8 team this season. But they might be a bit better than what I'm thinking. But yes, let's have a look at how they'll go here early on in the season. They got Cowboys, Broncos, Seagulls, Storm, and Peps. Wow. Wooey again. I could nearly see a 5-0 here, folks. They'll have to beat the Cowboys. They've got to beat the Cowboys. If they don't beat Cowboys in round 1, I'm very scared for the Bulldogs. It could be a little bit gloomy again. And they could be looking at 5-0 to start the season. 5 losses. And that's not good. I'd expect them to beat the Cowboys, but after that, I just don't know where to go there. They're no guarantee to beat the Cowboys, to be fair, either. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, later in the season, they'll meet the Cowboys again. So it'll be interesting to see how they go there. And if you look at this finish, this is why I just don't see the Bulldogs there this season. Warriors, Eels, Sharks, and Seagulls. There'll be at least 3 top 8 sides, I'd say, from that group there. The Bulldogs need something. But as you can see, the Bulldogs have a very good forward pack. Very good forward pack. But again, the issue is the half. The half and the hooker. Those are the two. And they're probably the 2 biggest positions in the game outside of fullback. So I just don't know. Even the fullback's a question mark. You wouldn't rate Matt Duffy in the top 10. So that is the problem, the spine. Okay. Matt Burton, is he the answer at 6? Maybe. He would be if the other 3 were sorted. But for him to be the star player, that's a big worry for me. In a couple of years' time, yes. But I'm worried he's going to get the same sort of thing as Luke Brooks. Expected to do everything, but he shouldn't have to. And that's the one thing Trent Barrett will need to find next season is a halfback and a hooker. Those are the ones he needs. He desperately needs those 2 in the seasons to come if the Bulldogs want to be a top 8 threat. But the Bulldogs for me, they're going to be struggling. And Josh Addo-Carr, well, I think he'll make the New South Wales team, but I'm telling you what, he might not have that much confidence when it comes to that time of the season. I'm just a little bit worried with the Bulldogs. I expect them to improve as the season goes on, but there could be a long, early season for the Bulldogs here. So, we'll see how they go. Let's get to my 12th ranked team here. And this is probably the biggest shock of all for everyone. But we know what happens when the maestro leaves and one of the best halfbacks in the game leaves the club. That's gonna, to me, lead to disaster. And one of my favourite teams, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, I expect them to drop off a cliff this season. Ranked 12th? You're kidding, you might say, Barry. Well, I can't see them making it. They could make the top 8, but they just don't have the squad. But then they didn't. Yeah, they've lost a few key players, so that's my big worry for them. Let's look at the Rabbitohs squad. You got Blake Taff, obviously a talent. Fullback, I would keep him at fullback. If they keep him at fullback, I think they can win. Maybe not win, but definitely be the top 8 again. I just think they need to make the change. I know Latrell Mitchell was very good at fullback, but the fitness isn't there. Very good player, but just don't have the fitness. If you got someone like Blake Taff in the team who can do what he needs to do, and he will improve over time, I'd have him at number 1. And if you see on the rest of the team, this is why. You got Alex Johnson, partner him up with Latrell Mitchell, and that would be some sort of try-scoring machine. 40 tries on that side of the field, guaranteed. That's where I would put Latrell Mitchell. Boom, where he's playing at centre for the New South Wales. Boom. Woohoo! But I know he loves to play fullback, but just query his fitness for a whole season at fullback. That's my biggest problem with Latrell. Very good player, but yeah, that's my biggest worry there. And he's obviously got to get that a little bit of grub out of his game because it's cost him playing the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season goes for Latrell Mitchell. Campbell Graham and Jackson Paulo, they've been very consistent as well, and they got a very good backline. Don't you worry about that. But the number 7 is going to be under a lot of pressure this season. Cody Walker and Lachlan. Can he do it, Lachlan? I just don't know. You're trying to replace Adam Reynolds here. To me, he's been in the top 3 halfbacks for the last 10 years. He's been a little bit unlucky. Maybe he could have won a couple more premierships, and that's been a bit of a limp on his career that he just hasn't quite delivered in the preliminary final a couple of times when he probably should have. But he's been very, very consistent for a long time, Adam Reynolds. So they're going to miss him big time. The Rabbitohs have let go the player they should have kept. No doubt about it. But in saying that, Lachlan, it could be long term, so they might take a little bit of short term pain for long term gain. But I think they're surely going to miss him this year, and I think Cody Walker, he is just not up to that, managing the team. Let him play his footy, but to manage the team, that is going to be the problem. If Lachlan can do that, then the Rabbitohs will make the top 8. But I just got this little bit of a worry that the Wayne Bennett factor they're just going to drop off intensity, drop a little bit of class, and that's bad disaster for the Rabbitohs. Their forward pack, obviously here again, it's a pretty solid forward pack with Mark Nichols, but he's on the way to Bennett, so has he got half his head thinking he's over there already? Damien Cook has been very disappointing in a lot of sense for the Rabbitohs during the season. He really needs to improve his game a little bit for mine. He plays better for New South Wales than he does for the Rabbitohs, and it's fair to say. He really needs to get consistent week in, week out for them and really improve. Defeated Totola, I would say, would be the other prop. And then you got some very, very good players here in Keon, Jairo, and Cameron Murray, a very good second row. And probably the best in the league, to be fair. Up there, definitely. Very, very, very good. But they're just lacking their props. I thought that last year. They got away with it last year, but without the Wayne Bennett factor, they I just don't know. Couple of injuries and they just don't have the depth there. Hafili coming in. He's okay, but he's definitely no Benji Marshall. And I think that's another player they're absolutely going to miss. Very calm, cool and collected Benji. They haven't got him. They haven't got his laid-back attitude at training. They're going to definitely miss that. I think he might nearly be a bigger loss than Adam Reynolds in a way. Adam Reynolds, you knew what he was going to do. Very, very, very good player. Don't get me wrong. But Benji Marshall, just the things he does off the field, I think they're going to miss that big time this season, the Rabbitohs, and that's why I think they might drop right off a cliff this season. Michael Cheekamp, will he sneak into the bench role? He certainly got his chance here, and obviously Tom Burgess and Liam might are good props, and it's a good rotation they got there. They got a pretty good rotation, but it's just, to me, they got away with it last year, but just two of those fellas get injured. Where are the players coming from? Hopefully there's a young star out there, but that is the biggest worry they have for me going forward. They just don't have it. They got a couple of experienced fellas like Josh Mansour and Tane Milner they can bring in the back line if needed, which is very good. So they got a little bit of depth there, so maybe they'll get a... But I just got a funny feeling they're just going to drop off the cliff this year, the Rabbitohs. I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. I'll probably look like a goose and they'll be in the top 4, but for me, they're going to be my shock for the season and say they're going to struggle. We'll find out if that's the case. Let's have a look at who they play early on. Broncos, Storm, Roosters, Panthers and Dragons. Oh, not easy again. That's why I'm worried for them. Playing up against Adam Reynolds, and Adam Reynolds has got a strong side there, the Broncos. Very strong. They are a team to watch, the Broncos, this season for mine. So yes, they need to win that one, the Rabbitohs, because Storm, Roosters, and Panthers, I can't see them winning any. Honestly, I just can't see them winning any of them. And then they got the Dragons, and Dragons are normally good at the start of the season, but they should beat the Dragons. But yes, this is an interesting start to the season for them. They need to start well because it could be a long season otherwise. Because if you look at the end of the season, it's not that easy as the draws either. They got the Warriors, Eels, Panthers, Cowboys, and the Roosters. If they're needing points at the end of the season, oh my goodness. That's why I don't know about the Rabbitohs this season. I do wish them well, but I just got this feeling the Wayne Bennett factor. It seems to happen in most clubs. When he leaves, it's disaster zone for the clubs. The players just drop the intensity. They just don't have the same, different coach. Even though he has all the credentials to be a good coach here. But yes, it's going to be an interesting one with the Rabbitohs. I hope I'm proved wrong. They still have a very good team. Don't get me wrong. They definitely can be a top 8 team, no doubt about it. I just got a feeling there's a few teams going to improve this year, and if that Wayne Bennett factor comes in, it could be a long season for the mighty Rabbitohs. Let's look at my 11th ranked team. I could have easily had the Rabbitohs at 11th, but I just this team's a bit of again, they've been there and abouts the last few seasons, but they're just not quite able to deliver the go forward more, or just missed a cut here, and that's the Knights. Adam O'Brien, he's another one who will be under pressure this season. If they don't make the top 8, I think he's gone. I seriously do. I can't see him keeping it after this. He's had enough time. I know Mitchell Pearce is gone. But Mitchell Pearce, to me, he's not the saviour either. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he just not up to the best. But let's have a look at the Knights team here. Kalen Ponga, fullback, no-brainer. He stays there. There's no point putting him anywhere else. That's his best position. He's a very good player. And again, I think he is a player that needs to move. I really do. Could he go to the Broncos? Or the Dolphins is where the talk is. If he goes to one of those teams, look out. Even though, to be fair, if he went to somewhere like the Roosters or the Storm, he'll have to take less money. But I tell you what, if he goes to one of them, woohoo. But they already got Ryan Pepinhausen and James Tedesco, so more than likely won't be going there. But if you know what I mean, Kalen Ponga, just for his sake, if he wants to win a premiership, I just don't think he's going to make it at the Knights. I'm sorry to say, Knights fans. They do seem to have they keep having a good squad, but they just can't get it together. But they got a young gun here, Bailey Hodgkinson. Straight out of the UK. Can he deliver? I don't know if they'll play him early on, but I would. I'd just put him in. They need some spark. I'd just put him on the wing, let him run. Have Dane Gagai next to him. He'll keep him occupied. He'll keep him in the game. I think they just need to take the punt on him. That's what I'll do. Obviously, Brandon Best. At his best, he is a New South Wales player. Absolutely outstanding to start the season last year, and then he got injured and his form dipped a little bit with the team. But to me, he's a very good player, and he's another player. Dare I say it, he probably needs to go somewhere else if he wants to win a premiership. Very good player, but yes, be a big season for him. Heimel Hunt, he will probably be the other winger, I would say. And the halves, well, they really are pretty much they're in. Jacob Clifford and Adam Clune, they will be the halves pairing for mine. But that's why I don't have them in the top 8, because they're just not awe-inspiring for me. Then you got Jacobs, Safiti. The Safiti brothers will probably be the 2 props, with Chris Randall in 9. Again, just when I've got Chris Randall in there, there's obviously Jaden Brayley, but he's got a bit of injuries again. I'm not convinced with Jaden Brayley either. He's there. He's not a bad player, don't get me wrong. I'm just not convinced with him either. So I don't even have him in my squad. Which some people will be going, what? But yeah, I'm not convinced with either Brayley brothers, to be fair. But again, when you look at this the second rows and locks, this is a team that can do something. Tyson Frizzell, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, who's a very underrated player on my books. Again, another player that probably needs to go somewhere else. And Mitch Barnett, he's been very good the last couple of seasons. Probably one of the best for the Knights. Underrated as well. And then if you look at the bench, they could have a good bench. Kurt Mann, he's Mr. Fix-It, but like Tyrone Petrie, he play anywhere on the field, just put him on. He's a real footy player. David Clemmer, he needs to deliver. He really does. He's been a little bit unders. He hasn't played bad, but I think he can give a little bit more. And I think just getting that knock from New South Wales has really knocked his confidence. Maybe he's another player that just needs to move somewhere else as well, and he might get back to his best. Maybe he'll join Dad's army at the Dolphins. We'll see. After that, Soasa Sue's a good player, and Jack Johns. They need something. And maybe the Johns factor. Maybe just put him in there and just give him more game time, and he may deliver for you. But Adam O'Brien, to me, he just similar mould to Michael Mcguire for mine. They just don't seem to have quite got the Craig Bellamy-esque, the Wayne Bennett sort of, hard versus being the father figure for the players. I just don't think those two have quite got their balance right. And maybe just gone a little bit too hard on their players. And you can just look at the match press conferences, they show you a bit of that. Wayne Bennett won't say it much publicly if they're done real bad. He just, he keeps them more in-house, and I think that's what those sort of coaches need to probably do a bit more. Even Todd Payton, when with the Jason Taumalolo early in the season. That's just the thing that those two coaches need to try and fix if they want to stay in their jobs for mine. I've got no doubt that Adam O'Brien and Michael Mcguire, they can coach. But you've got to manage as well, and that's what the best coaches do. And that's where they got to get it right. Let's have a look at their start of the season. Obviously you got Phoenix Crossing, and I nearly think he could be on the wing as well. I really think he could put him somewhere, because he's another one who could spark the attack. They keep putting him in the halves and on the bench. He might be. He's another one interesting character for mine that they may just need to just put him in there somewhere. Just put him on the field. Give him a run. This, another tough start to the season. It seems to be most teams have a tough start to the season. And even look, Roosters, Tigers, Panthers, Sharks and Seagulls. Well, where did the wins come from? The Tigers. 1-4. So 1 win, 4 losses to start the season. I would write the check now and say that's what's going to happen. And he'll be close to the chopping block when Michael Mcguire become mid-season. Can they beat any of those other teams? I seriously don't doubt it. Unless Tom Dubrovich goes injured. The Sharks should be firing by round 4. They might be a little bit need the first few rounds. But Craig Fitzgibbon, he's going to be interesting. We'll talk about him later. But he's going to be an interesting coach. Again, in the Animo, Brian, Michael Mcguire. I think he'd be in a better mould. I think he will follow more of the Trent Robertson, Craig Bellamy mould there. But anyway, getting back to the Knights, the Tigers, Broncos, Raiders, Titans and Sharks to finish. That's actually not too bad, to be honest. If they're in the hunt by then, they've got a chance. But I think they might be already out of contention by then. But they could get on a roll to finish if they need to sneak into the top 8. They've got a chance. But yeah, finishing with the Titans and Sharks probably won't be too easy, because I expect them to be up in the top 8. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because Knights normally start not too bad, but it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think the season's going to be the same for them. So it could be a long road ahead for you Knights fans who have been expecting something from this team, but just, again, I wish they could get a halfback. Just another Andrew Johns. That's all they need. Get Andrew Johns back to the promised land. Yes. So Raiders. They are my number 10 team. This is a really contentious one, because on paper, on the 17, they could be top 4. Let's be fair, dinkum. They could be top 4. My problem is, I think they are too much of a old school team, and I think they're just going to struggle fitness-wise. I just think there's too many players. They got some very good players, but they're just, old school. Well, not old school, but just the props, and I just don't know if they got the flexibility in the squad if times are needed to get the tries. have they got the X factor? They have got they've got one player that's X factor. Don't get me wrong, they have a few X factors in their team, but let's have a look at them. Obviously, one of them is Charles Nichols Clockstead, very good player, but will he hold his spot at fullback? That is a very debatable question. I would stick with him. For now, but I tell you what, there's someone pushing his buttons. Nick Cottrick, obviously, very solid when he was at the Raiders. Can he get back to his best? I hope so for the team. Could be a long road ahead otherwise. Obviously, the centre pairing here. I've just moved the team around a little bit here. Obviously, Jared Croker's going to be there, but I think Jordan Rampana's going to play centre. You just have to. He's got to play centre because the number 5, this guy has to be in the team here. Xavier Savage. He's just got to be there. We've seen the way he's playing. He was still outstanding when he was playing last season. But he's going to go to another level. He is the player that can take them to the promised land. I'm telling you now. He could be the next Turbo. Now, we'll see if that comes to fruition. So, my 10th place could look silly. But he's a very good player, Xavier Savage. Yes, the halves. This is a little bit for me, a little bit of a bit of Dad's army here. Jack Whiten, Jamal Fogarty, and Josh Hodgson. Yes, I just don't know. Jack Whiten was a star player 2 years ago, last season. Where was he? Yes, he'll be helped by Jamal Fogarty steering the ship, but I think Jack Whiten needs more from himself. And to be fair, it's another one for me. I think he's a centre. I personally think he should be playing centre. But just the way they've kept playing him at 6, he's going to be playing 6. But I personally would like to see him back at centre. And he may, where Jared Croker goes, he may go there. But I'd obviously have to find someone to play the 6 jersey. So, yes, that's why I don't have the Raiders there, because I just don't know if that's going to gel. It's a solid 6 and 7, but to me it just doesn't say premiership. The props, obviously Josh Papali and Joe Tapane, very much going to be... You always know the Raiders have a decent forward pack. Just whether or not they can go 80 minutes in this new game, that's the thing. You've got Hudson Young, Elliot Whitehead, Adam Elliott, he's just an interesting one for me. He's a bit of bad karma, and I don't know if he's right for the Raiders. For mine, I think that he could really turbulate this team. I hope he proves me wrong, but he looks like a bit of a prankster. I just don't know if he's the right fit. Tom Starling, he's there in the best beginning. He's having off-field dramas. I just don't know what's happening with the Raiders. Is it just because they just are bored in Canberra, so they're let's go on the drink and we'll get into a punching fight and all that? I don't know. That's the worry with the Raiders sometimes, Just some of these players just seem to want to get on the drink, got nothing else to do. Ryan Sutton, Corey Horsburgh, he's a very good player, and Corey Naira, very good player, but yeah, question marks for me on whether he'll stay in the team. Albert Hopewadi could be an interesting player. Well, he's obviously on the last chance as well. He's another been around the blocks. He could be an interesting one. And obviously got the toiler, Sam Williams. He'll just pop in when he's needed. He'll play half a dozen games with him. And he'll do a job. But he's not going to win them the premiership either. So, yeah, to me, they're just lacking their depth as well. But a lot of the squads are like that. So, where are they all? They're obviously in the old dart in the English Super League. We're just missing, I think, another 30 players. If those 30 players come back, then the NRL might be a little bit better. I just think we've just diluted it a bit too much, and they're taking the money and running. And they're going earlier than before. So let's hope that we see a bit of a turnaround, and some of these players are coming back, like the Jackson Hastings and likes. Some are just going too early for mine. But if they don't get success early, they seem to want to go somewhere else. So let's have a look at the Raiders draw. And again, the Sharks, the Cowboys, Titans, Seagulls and Storm to start us off. Woohoo! But to be fair, the Sharks could be a little bit of tweaking to start the season, so they could win their first 2 games. Sharks and Cowboys, they need to win the first 2 games for me if they want to be in the top 8. The Titans, Seagulls, Storm, I don't know. I don't think they can win any. But at the home game, they got a chance. But I just don't know about them. And then to finish the season, they got a good draw. They do. Panthers, Dragons, Knights, Seagulls, Tigers. So if they're in the hunt, they've got a chance to make the top 8 with the draw they got. But yes, they could easily come 4th, and I could see them as easily come 10th. So it's going to be interesting season for the Raiders, because they're still a premiership window. You could see there's a little bit of a premiership window there, but they've just been turbulence last season. So we'll see if they can bounce back. But they might sneak into the 8, but for me, they quite have the squad to really go boom. But this team, the next one, I think they could be a real smoky. But I'm just a little bit concerned about the coach. I think the coach is the worst. Is probably the problem from this team going to the top 4. I tell you what, this could be what they need. Let's have a look. At number 9 on my list, the Broncos. Brisbane Broncos. Wow. They have certainly done some very good signings this season. Kevy Walters has no excuse. He needs to deliver. He absolutely needs to deliver. They need to be top 10. If they don't make top 10, it's a failure for mine. I can see them sneaking them into the top 8. I've just left them out, but they could easily make the top 8. So let's have a look at the squad, because it's a very, very good squad. Very underrated. They could be a couple of years away from being really, really good, but they certainly have a lot of young guns on this team. Tessie New, he gets fullback. Just a little bit worried about the back line here for the Broncos, but they got some talent in there. Corey Oates and David Mead are my 2 wingers. Very experienced. I know David Mead didn't get much game time. But I'm just thinking they need out-and-out try scorers, and I think David Mead is that. And he'll give you that. And why not use it? And you have the Cantoni Stags and the Herbie Farmworths in there at centres that just deliver easy balls for them to score the tries. That's where I see it. I know this Jermaine Osako is probably going to be in there somewhere. But he might be half thinking Dolphins as well. So I think they just need to be very careful here, because this is where they could get a little bit dicey if they keep changing the side like he was last season. It really hindered the Broncos from going well. And number 6 is going to be a contentious one too, because there's probably 5 players that could be in this one. Tamari Martin's obviously one that can be there. Billy Walters. There's so many in the selection. Albert Kelly. But for me, on what I saw, Tyson Gamble, for me, he's just a tough, uncompromising player that I think the Broncos need. And I think he'd be a beautiful onset here for Adam Reynolds, because I think if they put Albert Kelly there, you just get the same sort of... I know Albert Kelly's a little bit more ball player, but he's been a bit more structured lately. So yeah, that's, for me, that's why I would have Tyson Gamble in there to start. I think, for me, his running game, I think he is the one for me. This is where people will get excited with the Broncos. Ryan James, if he can get back to his best, he is very, very good player. He has been injury prone, but if he can get back to his best, look out. Jake Turpin, he's a little bit, that's probably one position they could improve. But at his best, he's a very good player, so I won't give up on him. Pepinhausen, he is, without a doubt, the best prop in the comp. Absolutely. And I just hope they don't lose him to the Broncos. I really do hope he stays. I don't know if that will happen, because it looks like he's trying to get out of his contract. But I'm telling you now, he is probably worth the money he's talking about, what he's wanting. I think, hopefully the Broncos come to the payday, but I don't know. I got a funny feeling Pepinhausen just doesn't convince me that he likes Kevin Walters, and I think that's why he's trying to get out. So, but he's a star. He's a star. He's outstanding. I saw when the Broncos were struggling, he really kept digging in. Most of those players gave up, but he did not give up. And that's why I think they can sneak into the top 8. They're very much a good chance of making the top 8. Obviously with Adam Reynolds. I didn't talk about Adam Reynolds before, but no doubt, absolutely, 100%, he is the buy of the year. Whether it's enough to make the top 8, I don't know. But Adam Reynolds will steer the ship, and they will be a much better team. And with the forward pack delivers, woohoo! It could be good days ahead for the Broncos. Obviously, Kirk Cabell, very good signing, very solid player. Jordan Reiki, wow, he was mammoth last year. And Patrick Carrington, he's, the captain. He's not the captain now, but he's definitely captain material, and obviously giving it to Adam Reynolds. But he's a very good player, Patrick Carrington. Let's hope he stays on the field, because he's a very solid player. And there is a squad here that could come back to premierships. I really do believe the Broncos in a few years' time. Albert Kelly, yes, I'll put him at 14 for me. He can easily be number 6. We'll see how that goes. But I think he can bring a bit. He can play hooker. He can play wherever you want him to. Lock, 6, wherever you need him to go. So centre, if need be. So he'll be my bench player. Selwyn Cobber, you just got to put him in there as well. He could easily be in the starting team for mine too. I just have to have him in the team. TC Rowe Party, he's another young... he's definitely a good player. And Thomas Fletcher, well, he's just another old school tough player. That's what I'm excited with the Broncos. I nearly want to put them in the 8 now. Very exciting times ahead for the Broncos for mine. If not this season, next season. But as I said before, my very worry here is the coach. He needs to deliver for mine. He needs to pick and stick. I think if he does that, believes in his players more, I think you'll see the Broncos come back to the promised land. As we look at they also got Brinko Lee, who could easily be in the team as well. So they got a little bit of depth. Tamara Martin, I don't think will be there to start off, and Jordan Pereira is a good player as well. So they got a bit of depth there, the Broncos. So they definitely they also got Ezra Mam. They got big things about him, so he's another one who's in the mix as well to play as well. So the Broncos are very much on the way up. They should be on the way up this season if they're not doing something dreadfully wrong there. Looking at their season to start, yes, they to me have got a decent draw to start the season. Whether they deliver on it, I don't know. Rabbitohs first up, the Bulldogs, the Cowboys, Warriors and the Roosters. Where do you go here, folks? Well, you got to go somewhere. They're very good players. I really do like them. I like them to win 3 or 4 of these games. I do. I think they can beat the Rabbits, Bulldogs and Cowboys. If they don't beat the Rabbitohs, they could beat the Warriors. I can't see them beating the Roosters though. If they beat the Roosters, then we know they're back in business. But yes, they got a chance here to start good. The Broncos, they need to. If they want to be in the top 8, they've got to win at least 3 out of those 5 games for mine. Because their season ending won't be so easy with the Roosters, Knights, Storm, Eels and Dragons. They can clearly beat the Knights and the Dragons. But the other 3, depends how they go. It depends how they go, because there's a bit of controversy here. With my rankings a bit higher up here, because one team got really high up on the ladder could miss the top 8, depending on how they go. But yes, for me, yes, they're definitely a chance of making the top 8. Whether they get there, they might need more than just Adam Reynolds to get there, so hopefully the players around them will deliver. And I think they've got the forward pack that will give them the chance to be a big chance of making the top 8. I've just left them out, but I can see them being there. So let's go to my top 8. Eh? My top 8? Well, obviously this team, to me, a lot of people probably say should be ranked a lot lower. And they could possibly be right, but I have to put them in the top 80. And that's the New Zealand Warriors. What are they going to do this year, the Warriors? Come on, folks. Come on. Again, a bit like Kevin Walters, Nathan Brown, is he the coach? I hope he is the coach, but I'm not convinced. I haven't been convinced about a Warriors coach in a very long time. I think they missed the boat on these few coaches out there that haven't coached for a while. That I think are better coaches out there, but that's for another day. But I think I just don't understand why a player of coaching ability of Jeff Tuvey is not on the Warriors' radar, and I think he should have been on the Warriors' radar. He's not the only coach. There's quite a few other coaches around. But getting back to the squad, they have a squad. They do. They do have a squad that can be finals footy. Can they deliver on it? We will see. Controversy at the start of the year, obviously Reece Walsh, fullback. Some people say should he be in the team if he's going to go to the Dolphins, getting out of his contract. I hope that's not the case, but where there's smoke, there's fire. He could be, honestly, he could be the best player we've ever seen. Now, that's a big call, but the problem I have is I don't know if he has the mentality to be the best. Cameron Smith doesn't have Reece Walsh's ability, but he sure now knows how to be consistent, and that's what Reece Walsh needs to get. And I hope that off-season he's learnt his lesson and he just moves on and be the star player he can be. Otherwise, in a few years' time, he could be going out the back door as some of the other real good players. I hope not, because Reece Walsh is a gun. He can win the Warriors the premiership. I really do think he can. But we will see how he goes this season. I wish you well. The back line is a little bit contentious and a little bit of the worry factor. I think it's better than what they've had in the last few seasons. Hopefully defensively they'll be a little bit better, because it's always been the Achilles heel of the Warriors is the outside defenders that just get carved up week after week after week. And people keep saying, they score all these tries. Like Manu, he scored all these tries. But he let in as many tries as he scored, so what's the point? Defense is the key for the Warriors. And Dalen Watini Lesniak and for me, Jesse Arthurs. But obviously Montoya can easily be there as well. He's definitely going to be in the mix here. Adam Pompey and Rocco Berry for me for the centre roles. It's any of those will be there. Now, who partners Sean Johnson? Now, I've talked to everyone. They all got different opinions. Everyone's got a different opinion. I'll go for Ash Taylor. I really do. I know people say, well, he's not a Kiwi. You got to go for a Kiwi. No, you don't. You got to go for the best. And I think he can take a bit of pressure off Sean Johnson. Now, whether he has it mentally to do it, that is going to be the question. I hope he has, because he won't last long if he doesn't mentally prepare, because Sean Johnson needs that mentally prepared player outside him. So that's why I picked Ashley Taylor, because I think he could be the most mentally prepared out of the options the Warriors have got, which will leave the other players to play a little bit more off-the-cuff footy. This forward pack is up with the best. I wouldn't say the best, but it's getting pretty close. Adam Whanua Blake, and for me, when he comes back from injury, Tohu Harris. I know he can play out on the edge, but I think we've got other players that can probably play better. He definitely might end up playing second row anyway, and he's definitely a very good player. He can play second row as well. But I think there's a few other players that could maybe give a little bit more X factor, and Tohu can use his X factor in the front line as well. So, and for me, I'll put Jazz Tavaga in number 9. I'm sorry, I just don't rate Waiting, and I just don't think he does enough out of dummy half for mine. Other people beg to differ, but with Waiting and playing number 9, I hope he delivers. He needs to run the ball more, and all of them need to. It's just the way the game's gone. Cameron Smith's style footy is nearly obsolete. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong. Cameron Smith's a very, very good player. But he knew when to run, and he delivered. For me, I'll put Jazz Tavaga there. Josh Curran, to me, he's just in form. He's just got to put him there. Ewan Aiken. We can easily put him in centre as well, and Tohu goes here. But I'm going to stick with Ewan Aiken in the second row for now. But he can easily move to centre. And Bailey Sirenen was very good for him. Very, very underrated. This is his chance to really cement his spot. I think he will get his chance to be in the starting lineup this season. We'll see if I'm correct or not, but I really think he could be a very good player. Now, Mr. Fix-It, he doesn't like me, Mr. Fix-It, but you are Mr. Fix-It. Cody Nikorima, he is 14, no doubt about it. He just has to be 14. And if he doesn't like it, he might not be in the team at all. Very, very off the cuff. He can do a lot of stuff. He could play hooker as well. He could be starting hooker as well. I've got no doubts about that as well. I think that's his position. I think he definitely is the X factor, and I think he'll come on and play hooker and do all the razzle dazzle he needs. If he needs to go to 13, he will. That's where I see Cody. I see him as a 9. Then, obviously, Matt Lodge. I just think he'd be good to just bring off after 20 minutes as well. Just have another big forward to bring on with Bunty Afoa. Or just tag team here, tag team buddies. And obviously, we've got a lot of good players here. But my number 17 is Chanel, Harris Tavita. I'll be sad to see him go. But I can understand. I think they might need to re-sign him. If Reece Walsh goes, I think Chanel is the fullback. I just think they might need to try and re-sign Chanel. Try and keep him happy. Put him in the 17. Very good player. He probably hasn't got up to the level we expected him. But I hope that he does, Chanel. Because I can see him being long-term very good for the Warriors. So let's hope he comes. And what I like about the Warriors, they've got some depth. Especially in the obviously the prop situation. Maybe a little bit too heavy. If you got Jack Murchie and obviously Aaron Penney and Ben Murdoch-Masila, they obviously could easily be on the bench as well, so it's going to be interesting to see what Nathan Brown does there. And Katoa, obviously clearly a good player as well, and he's unlucky to not be in the team either, so Nathan Brown's got a lot of thinking to do on who he puts there, because he is leaving out some very good players there. But backline. Obviously, you and Aiken can jump in there, and you got Edward Cossey. But they're very thin. They've got a fairly good balance here, the Warriors. But obviously, they're relying on Sean Johnson. Absolutely, Sean Johnson stays fit. They make top 8 for mine, and could make preliminary final. There's a big statement there. I could see them making the preliminary final if Sean Johnson is fit for the whole season. They're going to have to manage him well. If he gets injured, it could be another long season for the Warriors. But he's definitely their key signing. And he has the potential to win them the comp. Let's hope he does deliver for the Warriors, because their forward pack is up with the best. If they stay fit, the Warriors should be in the top 8 this season. And if they can improve their defence, this is always the problem with the Warriors. They need to improve their defence and keep themselves motivated for 80 minutes. That is Nathan Brown's what he needs to do. He needs to deliver in that fashion. We'll see how he goes. The Warriors for the top 8 in 2022. Time will tell. Let's go on to number 7. And no doubt, probably one of the most interesting teams for this season. With the change in coach and the personnel. They've brought some astute signings to this club. And that is the Crinella Sharks. What are they going to do this season, the Sharkies? Wow. First of all, sorry. Before we get into the Sharkies, we've got to talk about who the Warriors play early. They got Dragons, Titans, Tigers, Broncos, and Cowboys. Now, if you want the easiest draw of the season to start the season, I know this is just wrapping up the Warriors here. They have to nail it. Obviously, the worry here is the Dragons are generally good starters to the season, so they will be pumped to go for round 1. And the Titans are generally, but the Warriors seem to do pretty good against the Titans. So I'm going to have faith this season, and I'm going to stick it out on the block here, and they can go 5-0 to start the season. You heard it here first. The Warriors 5-0. And come round 1, I could be going, oh my goodness. But I think they have the team, if they get it right, to win 5-0 to start the season. The Dragons won't be easy, don't get me wrong. Dragons are taller, and the Warriors will need to fight for that game. They get the confidence out of that game. The Titans could be just getting in the role. Then they have the Tigers. Then they got the Broncos. They won't be easy. And then the Cowboys, they should beat the Cowboys on their best form, but it is the Warriors. But
This is their chance. If they want to be a premiership contender, they've got to win 4 out of 5. Let's hope they do it, but time will tell. And if you look at the other side of the ledger, again to the end of the season, again, the draw's not too bad, depending if you believe the Rabbitohs are going to be struggling. The Bulldogs and the Cowboys, and good games to finish the season if they're in the hunt and they make it. Penrith and Titans will be a good way to finish. Hopefully not finish the season. Hopefully they'll be still playing finals footy for the Warriors. Yes. The Warriors. Well, obviously, I think they just got to play Globetrotters. I honestly do. I think the Warriors just need to go back to their old style of footy, throw the ball around, absolutely go ballistic, because I don't think any team will handle them. I really think if they play their old school footy, no, I'm not going to say top 4, because, but I think if they don't get it right, there could be a change of coach at some point. Nathan Brown says the right things, and I hope to believe he will do. But he's got to deliver on his promises, and this is his time to show that he is an NRL worthy coach. Because the Warriors really, really have a squad here that could really push some of the top of teams if they can get it right. So it'll be interesting to see. So let's go on to the Sharkies. Sorry, Sharkies fans, I had to go back a little bit. Obviously, got to talk about who the Warriors are playing. But yes, obviously the biggest talking team of the season here, the Warriors. I mean, the Sharkies here, they're going to be the biggest talking with Craig Fitzgibbon obviously coming along. He is very cool, calm and collected. He was a solid professional player. He is very, very, very much going to see what he does with the Sharkies, because I think the Sharks are going to be very good this season. Will Kennedy, he's contentious here for me. The fullback, he is going to be fullback for now. But will Nicho Hynes go to fullback at some stage? I have a funny feeling he might. If the Sharks don't get it right early, Nicho Hynes for me will go to fullback. Will Kennedy be in the team? It might not come to that. It might be just fine roses, but I've just got to query him out, because there's enough talented 6 and 7s here for the Sharks to put Nicho Hynes at fullback. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays. That's obviously got Ronaldo, Militalo, very, very good, obviously, and Matt Ikuvalu probably getting the other spot. We'll find out. Centre pairing of Connor Tracy, who could easily play in the halves, and Jesse Ramian. Well, it's looking very good. These Sharkies fans, when you listen to this, this is a contentious one. It's probably not going to be anywhere near what the team's going to be, but I would put Nicho Hynes at 6, if not fullback. I think Luke Metcalf. I really like the way he's played. You obviously have Matt Moreland. You can also have Brandon Trindle there as well. Brandon Trindle, sorry. But yeah, I really like this Luke Metcalf, and the Warriors tried to get him. Now, I really like this guy, and I think he needs to be playing 7, and he might later in the season. We'll see. I wouldn't want to see him leave the Sharkies. I think he's a very good player in the future here. The forward pack, this is again contentious. But I think Cameron McInnes is number 9 for mine. He's just very much what they need. Tony Rudolph and Andrew Fafita, if he can get himself back into the swing of things, he is what they need. They really need him to be at his best, the offloading best. Obviously, Neokora and Wade Graham, very good, and Dale Finucane. A lot of people saying he's going to play prop. I hope he's playing 13, because he's just a Brady Clyde. Might not be as fast as Brady Clyde, but just does all the toiling you need. You got to have this. You got to have these players on your team. Manny Moreland for me is 14. I just put him in. He can play anywhere on the field, and hopefully they'll just keep him from not playing full 80 minutes, and they keep his hamstrings nice and cool, and he plays 50 minutes around, and I think you'll see them in the top 8. Then you got Braden Hamlin Uali, obviously very good player with Aidan Tolman. He's your prop rotation, very good. And Braden Trindle, you've got to keep him in the team as well. Otherwise, you're going to lose these players. And Luton McCann, Braden Trindle, Connor Tracy, because some of these players want to be playing in the halves. If they're not playing, they may be looking elsewhere. So it's going to be interesting to see what Craig Fitzgibbon does with the squad, because he has a few other players not that'll probably be in the team as well that they need to look at. Obviously, Blake Brayley has been signed long term. I'm a little bit not convinced for me, but he's still a good player. I'm not saying he can't play, but I just don't know if he would be my starting number 9. You obviously got Royce Hunt and a few other players there that are sniffing around the squad here. So the Sharkies are, for me, a top 8 team. Just not quite a top 4 team yet. I think a couple more players for them in the future, and they are certainly a top 4 team. But the Sharkies should be back in finals footy this season if they get the mix right. To start the season, Raiders, Eels, Dragons, Knights and Tigers. Wow. Yes. Not a pretty good draw. This is again an interesting start to the season. They should win 3 out of 5, if not 4 out of 5 in this battle for me. If they want to be true contenders for the top 8, they'll need to, and I think they will. And then the end of the season is going to be good for them. I think they really have the draw. That's why they have to make the top 8. I think they've got probably one of the easiest draws in the NRL. They finish with Dragons, Tigers, Seagulls, Bulldogs, and the Knights. Oh, if they miss the finals for me, I'll be stunned. I'll be very stunned. They should make it. You know, anything can happen in the season and injuries come along, but a Craig Fitzgibbon team will defend their hearts out, and they will be back in the top 8. The Sharkies. Yes. Where could it go wrong for the Sharks? Nicho Hynes for mine. I'm not sure he's a halfback. I probably will be just proven wrong. But yeah, I really like... To me, he probably... Yeah, I would play him at fullback. I know I've seen him at number 6, but I'll probably have him at fullback for mine. There's enough talent out there not to, but I understand why they're putting him there. But we'll see how the season unfolds for the Sharkies. They've got a chance to maybe move in the fullback if they need to, but we'll see how that goes. Obviously now we're going to my 6th ranked team here, the Titans. What can they do to get to the top 4? They've really done well under Justin Holbrook, but they really need to ramp up and get closer to the top 4. Will they get there? That is the question. They have a nice bit of youth coming through, so it's going to be interesting. That could be their downfall as well, of going to the next level, but we will see. I've got a bit of a change up for my squad. If I was the coach here, I'd have AJ Brinson and fullback for me. I don't think he's a number 6, a bit like Nicho Hynes for mine. But again, it's a bit of a contentious one here. You could easily have, obviously, Jaden Campbell play fullback as well. But I think Jaden Campbell, like his dad, could go to 6 and do something. So AJ Brinson for fullback for mine. Obviously, Philip Sammy and Corey Thompson are very solid players on the wing, and Brian Kelly and Patrick Herbert. That's probably a little bit for the Titans. Have they got the X factor there to get to the promised land? And that is probably the question that they probably need to answer. And if they don't, will they bring in a young player to deliver that? That is probably my Achilles heel on the Titans. There's a lot of good forwards out there, but the backs seem to be thin in a lot of these squads. Where are the backs? They've been too robotically trained in the lower levels, so they're not... We don't have them at the top level, so maybe that's the question for the NRL to look at. Obviously, Toby Sexton's going to be number 7. Whether he is the answer, it might be too early for him to be there. And obviously, that's why they got AJ Brimson at 6, because of his experience. So they will start him at 6 to start the season. And whether he stays there, be interesting to see. That's probably the Achilles heel here of the Titans. They just don't have the spine. I don't think they have quite the spine. They could prove to be a good spine, but I just think they're missing the ingredients. With Aaron Clark and 9, yeah, no thank you. I think they still make the top 8, but they could stop them getting to the top 8 as well. or pushing higher up, because their forward pack is very nice. Isaac Liu and Futuaka, very good prop rotation there with Kieran Proctor, David Fafita. Well, he's just outstanding. Can they get a good 80 minutes out of him? That's going to be the question for Fafita. Is he an 80-minute player? He's a very good player. That'll be the question this year for David Fafita. And obviously, Tino, or Big Tino, he's very good. Very good player, and that's why they probably make the top 8 with him and Fafita. They just very good players. Will Smith, he's going to be interesting. Interesting if he gets selected. He's very interesting, underrated player too. He was very good for the Parramatta Eels at his time there. Jared Wallace, he's always consistent with Sam Lasoni. That's why I like the rotation there, that they have 4 very good props there for the Titans. And Paul Turner could be a bit of a, from the Warriors. He could be the one that's putting Toby Sexton under pressure here. Be interesting to see. They didn't sign him for no reason. They must think of something in him. And he could be the one if the Titans need a change, and maybe the change they want for delivering themselves the top 4 spot. The Titans, yes. I have got them at 6, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where their season goes. They could finish as top as high as 4th, and they could easily drop to 12th for mine. They're that wider range, but I think they'll be the top 8 for mine. They just see they got a couple of good players around whom, and SESA and Bo Firma and Easton Masterson probably on his way to the Super League after the season, to be fair. Yes, the Titans. Let's have a look at the Titans, because this is an interesting one here. The Eels, the Warriors, the Raiders, Tigers, and the Eels again. Wow. It could be a very nice draw here to start the season, depending how you look at it. The Eels, I don't know about being the Eels, but round 1 anything can happen. And then they got the Warriors, Raiders, Tigers, and then the Eels again. So that, again, they will need to start well and get 3 out of 5, which I expect they will. So they're certainly in and around their top 8. And the finish of the season, again, that's why I seen them in the top 8. They just got a draw, like the Sharkies. I think they'll do well. Storm and Seagulls, that'll get them tough for the road ahead, and then they should finish off with at least 2 out of 3, if not 3 wins against the Dragons, Knights, and the Warriors, which will see them in the top 8. I can't see them missing it. Again, obviously injuries can stop them from making the top 8, and obviously the form of a few of the halves. That is going to be the only query for the Titans. But otherwise, with their forward pack, they should be a top 8 squad again. Yes, now let's get to the real nitty-gritty. The top 5 teams. Will the premiership come from these top 5 teams? I think so. I'm a little worried about the depth of some of these top squads here. But anyway, let's have a look at my rank 5 team here. I think they might just drop out of the top 5 this season. But again, they have the turbo. So Manly Seagulls, Desi Hasler. Always likes the underdog tag. That's why we'll put him in 5th. Yes, again, a lot of reliance on Toby Turbo to deliver. But maybe there's another younger brother that's going to help out here with the squad here. So Tommy Turbo, obviously going to be fullback. This is a bit of a one. I like to see George Tafua back in the squad. I just think he brings a little bit more mongrel to this team. So I'd put him in and move Ruben Garrick to the centres with Morgan Harper, and obviously Jason Saab was outstanding last season. You got to have him in there. But obviously George Tafua probably won't be playing, so he'll be back there. But I would put him in the team. But obviously Ruben Garrick can just go back to the wing and Brad Parker back into centre. So it will be the team to start the season. But you just never know. If George Tafua finds form, he could be what Manly need. Kieran Foran and Daly Cherry Evans, they were pretty solid last season. But no, I think they need more out of Cherry Evans. I don't know. They need a lot more out of Cherry Evans. But Manly's forward pack, yes. If they all stay fit, they're a good chance. But that's the worry for mine. They lack very much depth here. But Paseka for me, with Martin Tabau, will be the props. Number 9, this is obviously with the Whainui situation, and I don't know if he is the answer anyway. I'd put Dylan Walker. I just don't think Lachlan Croker's got what we need. I think Dylan Walker could deliver that. Yes, Dylan Walker's a very good 14, and I can understand why he probably will play there. But for me, they need more out of their number 9, and I'll put Dylan Walker there. And then you got Hamoli and Josh Schuster. They'll both be very good players going forward. Very good players. And Jake Trbojevic picks himself. Yes, very much in the very consistent Michael Luck, Brady Clyde sort of field. And just a shoo-in for the squad. And Ben Trbojevic, he's my 14. Obviously Dylan Walker will probably play 14, but if anything changes, to me, he just needs to get more game time. Carl Lawton, he can play second row and hooker, so he's a very utility-based player as well. And then you got Sean Kepi and Josh Alloy. They are very, very much, again, another good forward pack rotation for the Seagulls. Obviously, the reliance on Tommy Trbojevic is pretty clean to see, and the preliminary final showed that. Shut them down, they're out of the game. So it's up to Cherry Evans and Kieran Foran to deliver that extra little bit of spark. And that's why I think Dylan Walker's probably key here as well. They're probably just missing a hooker, to be fair, the Manly. That's probably what's going to probably stop them being a premiership team. That's why I have them in 5th. They're just missing a hooker. If they could find a hooker, to me, no brainer, they're top 4. If they had Coruscant, if they had someone, Brandon Smith, if they had someone like that, no brainer, top 4 for me. But just, that's who they're missing. If they can find him out of Finney, or find who can get off this thing and come into the squad, then you're talking about a premiership force. But yes, just that number 9 for me is stopping Manly, but they can still win the premiership. But yeah, that's just for me where I would look at. Okay, getting to our top 4 nearly here. But obviously, before we go to our top 4, let's see who Manly have to start off the season. They got the Panthers, Roosters, Bulldogs, Raiders, Knights. So a very tough start to the season, the first couple of games for sure. But then they should get 3 in a row there with the Bulldogs, Raiders, and the Knights. So they should be around the top in this season. And to finish the season, not so easy here with the Eels, Titans, and Sharks, Raiders, and Bulldogs. So they haven't got an easy run home. The last few games could be, depending on where they are ranked in the whole scheme of things in the season here. So that's why I just don't know if they're going to be the top 4 side this season. They might find it a little bit harder this season when they'll be trying to shut down Turbo. So that'll be Manly for 2022. Oh, they should be top 8, even without the star-studded hooker they're needing. But the rest of the squad is pretty much very, very solid, and they will be around the fringes of the top 4 anyway, if they're not in it. Yes, now my 4th ranked team, well, people say they should be ranked number 1 because they won last year. Well, yes, but I don't know. They've got to be obviously the Panthers, Penrith Panthers, the Penny Panthers. But to me, I just don't know. They've lost a couple of solid players here around their squad. They really helped them. Coop Capewell, he was their leader. They've still got a very good squad and can easily win again. There's no doubt about it. But I'm just concerned, which I was concerned about, is injuries. Obviously, a few of these players played injured in the grand final, which is outstanding. But if they actually get injured and can't play, that's going to be the worry for me. If Cleary goes down, where do they go to? That is the problem I've got for the Panthers this season. That's why I only have them in 4th, but they're certainly going to be up in the range of winning the premiership again. So Dylan Edwards at fullback, no brainer. Charlie Staines, will he be on the wing this time? People said he probably should have already been there, but he should be there to start the season. Hopefully he'll get a full season. with Brian Tall easily on the other side. Will Robert Jennings, will he get a start or will he be biding his time? I think he could play centre for mine. With Steve Crichton, obviously very good starting back line here with Luai and Cleary in the halves. Outstanding. Look, yeah, very good mixture of youth, a lot of youth really, to be fair, in that squad. Moses Leoto and James Fisher-Harris are the props. Api Carousel, Fisher-Harris, Kikau, Liam Martin and Isaac Yeo. There is no doubt, without 100%, this is the best starting 13 in the comp. Best starting 13 in the comp. Absolutely. But for me, the depth is not there. And if you look at the bench, you'll see why. You got Mitch Kenny, playing number 9. Yes, no doubt about it. That's good. Scott Sorensen, Spencer Liu, and then Isaac Togo, who could easily be starting with Robert Jennings, but I've just put him in for a little bit of X factor on the bench. There's a couple other players in and around there that not in the top squad. But they got no one after that. Obviously, when I see Nathan Cleary, if he goes out injured, they actually don't have a bad player, Sean O'Sullivan, to go into number 7. So it's not all, and even Salmon is a chance here, and they got Matt Eisenhoof, but they're not world changers, are they? They can plug a gap, but they're not going to win you a premiership. So that's my worry. I still think they'll make top 4, but I'm just worried a few injuries. It could be a harder road to going back to back for the Panthers. But very good team, no doubt about it. And with a few players leaving after the season as well. You obviously got Isaac Leo, obviously he's a very good player, and he's definitely one of their star consistent players, so he will help them go well. Let's have a look at who they get to play early on. So, Seagulls, then the Dragons, Knights, Rabbitohs, and Bulldogs. It's a pretty good draw. They should be around the top, winning 3 or 5 out of those games for mine, the Panthers, to start the season. If not 4 of those, so I expect them to be up there again. Because coming to the end of the season, they got Raiders, Storm, Rabbitohs, Warriors, and Cowboys. Again, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. There could be 3 or 4 teams that could be looking for the top 8, so it depends on how they're going. But to me, yes, that's why they're top 4 for mine. The draw's there for them again as well, and I just think they will be there. The only way they won't be in the top 4 is if Cleary or some of the other top players get injured. A couple of their good forward pack get injured. That'll be the only reason they're not in the top 4 in 2022. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty here. Now, people, again, this is another one. People probably say they should be up higher. But anyway, the mighty Melbourne Storm. They're my 3rd ranked team this season, so the Storm. Again, why I don't have the Storm and the Panthers at the top of the tree. They just don't. Well, I won't say the Storm don't have depth because Craig Bellamy just plucks them out of thin air. I don't know how he does it. He plucks them out of thin air. Just turns journeymen into superstars. So that's going to be the interesting thing for me. Craig Bellamy, there's been a little bit of unrest, obviously, in the off season. Has he got them back settled? We will find out. Obviously, number 1, Ryan Pepinhausen. Yes, big season for him, because he was a little underwhelming for mine when he came back into the team. I think they cost themselves the premiership. They should have kept Nicho Hynes at fullback. He was in form. Pepinhausen just didn't look ready. He started finding a little bit of form later in the season, but to me, they just missed the boat there. They should have kept Nicho Hynes here and used Pepinhausen off the bench as a super sub. But they didn't, and that's just recent history for me. I hope he gets back to his best. He should have a full off season. Hopefully he's got his head right and he's ready to rock and roll. Always, doesn't matter. They always have good players here. The Storm and the back line, doesn't matter. They always find they replace that O'Carr with Xavier Coates. Well, some people would argue Xavier Coates might be better. We'll find out in a few years' time. Xavier Coates, to me, is just going to skyrocket into stardom under Craig Bellamy with Justin Olam next to him, and then you got George Jennings and Raymond Smith on the other side. It's just very, very strong squad again. Cameron Munster and Jerome Humes. Okay, this is... Am I going to change my mind on who's the best squad out of Penrith and the Storm here? Then obviously look at the forward pack. Jesse Bromwich, Christian Welsh, Harry Granton, 9 for mine, Felice Kafusi, Tom Eisenhoof, and Brandon Smith for me will be playing 13 this season. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what I'd be doing. And again, I'll put them at the second starting pick, but I mean, we haven't got to another team yet, but yes, it's a very strong team. Again, clearly, starting team's very good. But they have a very strong bench, and that's why I put them above the Panthers here. Nick Meaney, he'll do the Nicho Hynes thing. Probably not to the same extent as Nicho Hynes, but he'll do a job. Kenny Bromwich, always going to be there in the bats before he goes to the Dolphins. Nelson Asafa Solomona, he's an interesting character there, but clearly there. And then Tepai Maroa is going to be an interesting signing. I don't know if he will play a lot of games. He might do if he can get back to his best. Again, a journeyman gets him back into the Storm system. Let's look out. Looking on to the future for the Storm here. To me, they're just looking very thin. They've always got quite a few youngsters coming through. Obviously, they got Tui there. He's over there in Cooper Johns. They obviously have also Cole Mcguire and Marion Seving in there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. So the Melbourne Storm will have the Tigers, the Rabbitohs, Eels, Bulldogs, and Raiders to start the season. Oh, mate. 5-0 again here, baby. The Storm. They just look like they'll be on their merry way again. Very much a top 4 squad. And with that draw, they just... nothing else in top 4 for mine. To finish the season, they got Titans. Look at this again. Titans, Panthers, Broncos, Roosters, Eels. Now they've got a big finish. They got a big finish, and I think that it's good for the Storm, because sometimes they finish the season playing some real weaker teams, and maybe that just drops them form for the final storm. This time they're going to have to be primed for at least 4 of the 5 games in the final rounds, which I think will steer them steep, and they could be a chance of getting back to the promised land, the Melbourne Storm. Yeah, just very good team, the Melbourne Storm, clearly. But this is the team. Now, this is the Rocks and Diamonds. This is the big one. Can they go to the next level? Because they've been promising for a few years. And this is probably the last year they got a chance of doing it and winning the premiership, the elusive premiership. You know who I'm talking about. Peter Sterling knows of sure. Parramatta Eels, can they come and deliver? We will find out soon here on the channel. On the NRL season, sorry folks. Yes, Clint Gufferson, clearly, fullback. Been a little bit of infighting here with Mitchell Moses, but I think the time is now for them to both step up and really deliver for the squad they need to. They're the key players they need to. Mike Acevo, he needs to deliver as well. With Bailey Simpson gets his chance, he needs to deliver. He's got to stay injury. Hayes Dunson, they put a bit of money into this guy. They really need him to rise to the occasion. With Walker Blake, it'd be interesting to see if he stays in team, because he's had some defensive issues. And it has been a little bit of the concern for the Eels is that defence. Then you got Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses. Very good, very good. They are very, very interesting. Very much in the new style fast footy game. If these two just run the ball, do all this fancy stuff they can do, they can wreak havoc. So it's going to be an interesting season here for Parramatta. I really do believe this is their season if they are going to win. Because Ryan Mahoney goes, could be a long way down penny train here for the Parramatta Eels, and I can't understand why they did not sign him up for big money. I just don't understand Parramatta, the crazy stuff. Good thing that their two props, Regan Gillard and Junior Paulo, signed on, so that is promising, but they're going to have to find a hooker somewhere here, Parramatta. Because they're also losing Asaya Papalili. He's very good, and he was very good. Can he continue this season? You're obviously going to have Sean Lane and Nathan Brown. They'll be around the starting side. Jacob Arthur, interesting one here. I'm putting him in 14. They lost Will Smith, so they're going to put someone there. Will he be the answer there? I'm not sure, but that's who I'm going for. You got Niokora, Kafusi, and Madison, and there's probably a few others around that area that could be that are around their squad. That's why I like them. They got Bryce Cartwright that they can bring in. They got Keegan Hipgrave, Easy, Ray Stone, Mitch Rain. He's a solid player. If they need him, they can easily put him in there. Tom Apayachik, again, another good player. That's why I like them, the Eels. They've got the depth. They've got every opportunity. Can they deliver? We will find out. Looking at their start to the season, the Titans, the Sharks, the Storm, Dragons and Titans, again, this is their chance. They got obviously the Titans. They've got to try and beat the Titans twice. It's not super easy to start the season, but if they can win 3 out of those 5, they'll be going a long way to being a big chance this season. Now, and again, this season's, I'm a little bit worried why I got them at number 2 when you look at who they finish with. The Seagulls, Rabbitohs, Bulldogs, Broncos, and the Storm. But I do believe they got their chance to be a top 4 team this season. They need to deliver, otherwise they are gonskis. But very good team here, the Eels. I really like them, and I think they're a big chance of doing well this season. The Eels to the promised land for the Eels. They could easily be 5th to 8th. If we look at who they play in the Parramatta Eels, you got the Titans, Sharks, Storm, and Dragons, and Titans again. So they should easily win 3 out of those 5 games. And I'm a little bit concerned on making the top 2 here with the Seagulls, Rabbitohs, Bulldogs, Broncos, and Storm to finish. But this is really the year for Sturlo and his team and Brad Arthur, and they really, really need something this year, the Parramatta Eels. I really do hope they deliver this season for all the fans who really been struggling out there. So go the mighty Eels, and we get to number 1, which obviously is the other team I haven't talked about. But I think they're going back to the promised land this year. A lot of people say, well, you got other players leaving like Boyd Cordner, Josh Morris, Brett Morris, Jake Friend, and everyone else. But the final team, obviously the top team for me, is the Roosters. Obviously losing Jake Friend, Boyd Cordner, the Morris twins. You'd expect they might be a low. I don't think so. Not here, right now. I really do like this team, the Roosters. When you got James Tedesco, Daniel Tupou, Paul Momorowski, goodbye, Joseph Manu, Joseph Sawali, I expect a big season from him. Sam Walker has a partner in crime now, Luke Keary. This is the team to beat. Jared Warrior-Hargraves, Sam Ferrells, he's there for now. Lindsay Collins, Angus Crichton, just Tupanua, Victor Radley, just very star-studded. Connor Watson off the bench, Taki Ahau, Nat Butcher, and I got Kevin Nagama as an upset. One there to just bring on, put him anywhere, sort of thing. For me, you put him in there. They just look a very strong squad for mine. They got halves galore, Adam Krieg and Lock. And then they got Freddie Luskett to put in the hook if they need to, and Drew Hutchinson as well. I'm obviously looking at the backup players here. You got Drew Hutchinson, Adam Cregan, Lachlan Lambs, the halves are sorted. Freddie Luskett, hooker. So they've got a lot of cover there. Looking at the Roosters starting, they got first off they got the Knights, Seagulls, Rabbitohs, Cowboys, Broncos. Very good way to start the season. Again, could be tough, but I'll expect them to win 4 out of 5. And then look at this for a finish: Broncos, Cowboys. Titans, Storm, and the Rabbitohs for the finish. just to me, I just see them as number one this season, folks. They might not finish at number one, but they'll be pretty close. And I just think they're going to go very close to the promised land this season if Luke Keary stays fit. He has to stay fit if they want to deliver. But Sam Walker, like Reece Walsh, these two players have the potential to be the best players in the game in 10 years' time. So they need to deliver. Sam Walker, just keep being you, and Luke Keary will steer the ship around. Well, that's enough for me today here for the NRL. So thank you very much for coming along to the Barry Charles podcast, episode 7 on the NRL predictions for the season, and I hope your team does well out there. Leave any comments, because I know there's going to be a lot of people not happy with my selections here, and even some of my teams I haven't even put in the top 8, so it's going to be interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and if you can subscribe and like button and spread the word around about Barry Charles podcast, and next week we should be back with a special guest, and thank you very much for listening, and take care out there, everybody.